back. An inter-ministerial task team has told Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts that municipalities owe Eskom 26.4 billion rand as of October. The figure is expected to rise as some municipalities continue defaulting on payments. And since the task team's appointment in 2017, there's been no progress in recovering the debt. Is the task team failing to do its jobs? And what is the alternative? Let's get you some insight right now from Mielani Holeni, who's the Chief Revenue Officer and Kingiso Consulting. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening. Always a pleasure to have you. There's a mess here. It seems as though municipalities are failing to pay the debt to Eskom. And at this point in time, the question is, what do we do then?
Well, if you look at the top 10 offenders, and now there is a list of the top 20 offenders, the debt seems to be growing. But if you look at the characteristics of those municipalities as well, you look at Malutia Pofung, which is top of the list. It's a municipality which is under administration. And if it's under administration, it means it's not able to manage itself, so the governance has collapsed and it needs to be cleaned up from national government, provincial government and so on. So some of these municipalities, if you also look at how Eskom supplies electricity and also has customers, and they also have customers of their own, you're also finding characteristics of dual supply, where Eskom supplies electricity directly to big industry. They also supply electricity to residential as well as. So you don't have harmonization in terms of the cooperative governance model that we see. So breakdown in governance as well as the lack of cooperative governance within the state.
So when we're saying that there's breakdown in governance here, because I want us to be specific, and I think that you would have heard my previous conversation around these terminologies that seem to not have faces any longer. So it is stopping the accountability aspect of it. When you're saying that municipalities are failing in governance, does that mean people simply don't know how to do their jobs, well, like at a local government level?
Well, in this case, we must always look at municipalities as businesses. So we cannot afford to have people who are just doing the minimum administrative things within government. We need to have people who are going to think much broader in terms of how to run those municipalities, how they can make surpluses, because electricity is one of those line items which generates between 40 and 60% of the revenue of a municipality, and therefore it needs to be protected. It needs to need to make sure that you bill correctly. You need to make sure that the revenue is complete. You protect the revenue, as well as finding other ways of enhancing the revenue. So in this case, we are talking about the technical people who are within the municipality, who are supposed to maintain the network. We're talking about the revenue people. We're talking about the CFOs. So it's a collective effort that must be applied within there. And it doesn't help at times when there are instructions given to officials to stop the collections because of certain times of the year, whether it's elective years and so on and so forth. Those things do not help in terms of governing there. But there needs to be a system of tight management for collections, for understanding and knowing who the customers are, for understanding consumption. If it's postpaid meters, to make sure that those postpaid meters are checked on a regular basis, are read on a regular basis. If it's prepaid meters, to have a system that checks if there are low buys, no buys, and breaching of those meters. So there's a total management that needs to be put around making sure that that money that must pay Eskom is collected, so that eventually the municipality can pay Eskom at the end of the month.
Let me ask you this, Melanie. If we're saying that when it comes to municipalities, they need to be run like businesses, because ultimately it is a business, right?
Absolutely.
So if they're to be run like businesses, that means that the politics must back off from the business so that the business can run effectively. If you're going to have an entrepreneurial pursuit, or you're going to have business management, because it's ultimately the management of a municipality, if you're going to have competent people within the business management of those municipalities, that means that the political figures and the deployees of politics must back off from the business so that the people that know how to manage businesses can get to the job.
The big thing is capability. So if you look at the people who are supposed to be running the various areas within a municipality, how capable are they? How qualified are they? How experienced are they? How enterprising are they? So for us is, yes, we exist within the political system, but you also need to have a strong management capability which is able to run the various things within a municipality. So in as much as, yes, you must have council because they account to the people. You must have ward councillors because they keep a system of communication between the people as well as government. But the competency as well as the capabilities of people who are running the municipality, that is where we need to focus. us. Because if you have technical people who are engineers, are qualified, who know what they are doing, you have chief financial officers and revenue people, budget people and so on. Those are the people who will be able to manage the dynamic tensions that can exist within the political system as well as the administrative system, and can give sound advice and be able to caution as opposed to following the lines in terms of,
we have a situation, Melanie, where we had consultants. A whole lot of consultants were also hired at a local government level who would bill and invoice exorbitant amounts for actually being consultants. What happened to all of those consultants which were consulting at a local government level?
Well, in this case, if you look at, consulting is part of the mix that we believe that within local government, we should have a measure of subject matter experts, because it's impossible to be able to know all the fields with respect to the new technologies that are emerging, to strategies and various things. So consultants become a crucial mix of people that must be supporting local government. And as it would happen in any enterprise, if there's something that perhaps requires assistance, you'll call in someone who's got greater expertise. And so consultants occupy that space. And all that would plead with those consultants is that they give sound advice and they are able to deliver value, and which is what municipalities require, value, so that whatever they get paid is in line with the value that they're delivering.
Let me ask you this, a question that I require honesty. Do you think that Eskom will ever recoup any of this money from these municipalities?
Well, there's a big thing around the model. We have doubts in terms of the current way that things are happening. I think we literally are watching the debt growing, and there are no specific interventions which are being put in place. We did read in the media that they want to attach, mayoral vehicles and so on. But that falls short of what should be done. So let's look at the model of a municipality as well as Eskom. A municipality that it has a license to supply electricity must be allowed to be able to supply electricity and not be in competition with Eskom. And there should be that cooperative model between the two, because then if you have Eskom on the other side collecting on large power users, you're depriving that municipality of the revenue that they should be earning to be able to cross-subsidize other services there. So a radical idea would be to say, should Eskom still be participating in the distribution of electricity when all the qualified and capable engineers could be supporting the municipalities in setting up the technical departments to be able to drive the electricity business and innovate on the electricity business?
Well, I definitely have to bring you back into the studio so we can continue having this conversation. But I do count your honesty. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, Melanie, but always a pleasure. And listening to exactly what is happening when it comes to Eskom.